We don't come into this world carrying weight. We come in soft, loud, and honest. If we're hungry, we cry. If we're tired, we sleep. If we want something, we reach for it. No shame, no guilt, no second guessing. At first, the world welcomes us this way. People smile when we laugh. They applaud our first steps. They forgive our mistakes because we're just children. In those early years, we are allowed to be raw, messy, real. But then something shifts. Not all at once. It begins with small phrases. You shouldn't cry over that. You should say thank you. You should be more polite. You should act your age. And suddenly, being yourself isn't enough anymore. We start learning that some parts of us are acceptable, and some are too much, too loud, too quiet, too emotional, too slow. We begin to shrink ourselves. Not physically, but emotionally. We mold who we are to match what others want. At first, it's just to make someone proud, to feel loved, to avoid getting in trouble. But over time, it becomes automatic. We stop asking, is this who I am? And instead, we ask, what do they want me to be? That's the moment the first should settles in. It's not a word. It's a feeling. A silent agreement with the world that you will stop being fully you if it means being accepted. You should be smarter. You should be stronger. You should be more responsible. You shouldn't be so sensitive. You shouldn't speak up so much. No one tells you the weight will grow. No one warns you that the more shoulds you carry, the less room there is to breathe, to rest, to feel joy. And the saddest part is, you think it's normal. You think everyone feels this way, so you must too. You don't question the weight, because no one around you seems to either. Everyone's shoulders look just as heavy, so you carry it. You call it maturity. You call it responsibility. You call it being a good person. But deep down, you're exhausted. Not just from doing, but from becoming someone you were never meant to be. That's the first should, and it never asks for permission. It just moves in and quietly tells you who to become. But what if you could remember who you were before the first should arrived, before the noise, the pressure, the bending? Maybe you'd find someone lighter, someone truer, someone still whole underneath the layers. And maybe, just maybe, you'd realize that the first should never really belong to you at all. Some weights don't come from your choices. They're handed to you, gently, firmly, or without asking. A teacher says, you have so much potential. Don't waste it. A parent sighs, you should be the one who makes us proud. And just like that, you inherit expectations that weren't yours. You didn't wake up wanting to be perfect. You didn't beg to be the strong one, the quiet one, the fixer, the good child. But you played the role anyway, because someone needed you to. That's how it starts. Not from your truth, but from their hopes, fears, and unfinished dreams. You were told, you should take care of your family. You should follow this path. It's safer. You should be grateful. Others have it worse. So you suppressed your own desires, because guilt is heavy, and the need to please is louder than the whisper of your own voice. You got good at pretending. You wore the right smile, said the right words, did the right things. But deep down, something felt borrowed, like you were living someone else's life. And sometimes that weight came with applause. You were praised for being responsible, reliable, selfless. But no one saw that you were disappearing. You didn't choose these shoulds. You didn't choose this mask. You didn't choose to carry everyone else's emotions like a backpack that never gets lighter. But here you are, tired, stretched thin, wondering why you feel empty when you've done everything right. Maybe it's time to ask, whose weight is this? Who put it here? And do I really have to keep carrying it? At first, should seems helpful. It sounds like guidance. A nudge in the right direction. A way to grow, improve, become better. But over time, when you hear it too often, and when you fail to meet it, should quietly turns into shame. You didn't clean enough, so you must be lazy. You didn't say yes, so you must be selfish. You didn't achieve enough, so you must be a failure. Should stops being a suggestion. It becomes a standard, and not meeting it feels like a personal flaw. You begin to measure your worth, not by your heart, not by your effort, but by how well you follow the invisible rules. You compare yourself to everyone else. They look like they're doing fine, so you must be behind. Not enough, too much, wrong somehow. You try harder, push more, smile through the weight. But inside, you're tired and afraid. Afraid that no matter what you do, it'll never be enough. That's what shame does. It whispers that you're broken, not because you are, but because you didn't become who you should be. But the truth is, you were never meant to be perfect. You were meant to be real. Shame thrives in silence. It feeds on your belief that you are alone in this, but you're not. We all carry it. In different shapes, different voices, different masks. And healing begins when you see it for what it is, not a truth, but a shadow cast by unrealistic expectations. You were never the problem. The should was. There are two voices in you. One is loud, polished, and eager to please. It knows what the world expects. It repeats what you've been taught. You should do more. You should smile. You should be better by now. That voice lives in the spotlight. It dresses up, performs, and keeps score. It knows how to be admired, even when you're falling apart inside. But there's another voice, quieter, softer, hidden. It doesn't shout, it whispers. Not with demands, but with truth. It says, I'm tired. I don't want to do this anymore. I wish I could just breathe without guilt. This voice is yours, the real you, the one that existed before the expectations, before the roles, before the pretending. But the world outside is noisy, and in all that noise, you begin to doubt that quiet voice. You question its wisdom, its softness, its slowness. You think, if it were right, it would be louder. If it mattered, more people would agree. So you keep following the loud voice. Because it's familiar, because it gets applause, because it keeps you safe, or so you think. But slowly, the cost adds up. The more you ignore that quiet truth, the more disconnected you feel from joy, from peace, from yourself. And one day, in a moment of stillness, maybe on a walk, or when you're too tired to keep pretending, that quiet voice returns. It doesn't beg for attention. It doesn't blame you. It just says, are you ready to listen now? That's the voice you were born with, and it may be the only one that truly knows what freedom feels like. Not from the world, but from the weight of being someone you're not. Everyone has a breaking point. Not loud, not dramatic, just quiet moments when something inside finally whispers, I can't do this anymore. You followed all the rules. You did what they said would make you happy. You worked hard. You smiled through pain. You showed up even when your soul stayed home. You told yourself, just a little more effort. Maybe I'm the problem. Maybe I'm just not strong enough. But strength isn't about carrying more. Sometimes it's about knowing when to set it down. The should that broke you wasn't the biggest. It was the last one. The final expectation stacked on top of all the others. It was small, maybe even invisible. A deadline, a conversation, a comment from someone who didn't know they were touching a wound. You didn't collapse. You just stopped caring, stopped hoping, stopped feeling anything but tired. That's not failure. That's exhaustion disguised as apathy. And yet, even in that brokenness, you tried to keep going. Because that's what you were taught. Don't fall apart. Don't make it messy. Don't let anyone see the cracks. But here's the truth no one told you. Cracks are not shameful. They are openings. They let the light in. They let you in. The day you broke was not your end. It was your beginning. Because when the should finally shattered you, so did the illusion that you had to carry it. And maybe that's where healing lives. Not in pushing through, but in finally breaking open, so you can begin again without the weight. No one sat you down and said, you don't have to live like this. No one handed you a note that read, you are allowed to be soft, slow, and unsure. Instead, the world gave you scripts. Be productive, be agreeable, be perfect, be strong, even when it hurts. You didn't question them because they came from people you trusted. Teachers, parents, mentors, society, so you obeyed. And in doing so, you forgot to ask what you truly needed. You waited for permission to rest, to say no, to choose differently. But it never came, because no one gives what they weren't given. They didn't know how to offer freedom. Only rules, only shoulds, only survival. So you became the good student of expectation. You erased your wants with logic. You shrunk your truth to fit into roles. You applauded yourself for being responsible, even when it made you disappear. And still, you waited. Waited for someone to say, you've done enough. You can stop now. You are already worthy. But what if that voice has to come from you? What if the permission you've been waiting for is the one you can give yourself? You are allowed to change your mind. You are allowed to outgrow people, roles, and dreams. You are allowed to feel joy without guilt. You are allowed to walk away from what no longer fits. You don't need to prove your pain to earn rest. You don't need to explain your truth for it to be valid. You've spent so long waiting for the world to say yes to your softness. But healing begins when you say it first. You are not selfish for choosing peace. You are not weak for needing ease. You are not wrong for wanting a life that feels like yours. Part 7, Rewriting the Rules. One day, something shifts. You wake up, not angry, just tired. Tired of chasing approval. Tired of living by rules you never agreed to. You begin to question them. Who wrote these rules? Who said success looks like? Exhaustion? Who decided love must be earned by self-sacrifice? Who made rest feel like guilt? At first, the questions scare you. Because if you don't follow the old rules, what's left? Who are you without your shoulds? Who are you without the mask? It feels like standing on the edge of a cliff, holding a script that no longer makes sense, but unsure what to write next. Still, you begin. Not all at once, not with a grand declaration, but with small, quiet edits. You say no to something you always said yes to. You rest without earning it first. You stop apologizing for simply existing. And in that space, something beautiful begins to grow. Your voice, your rhythm, your truth. You realize you don't have to be available all the time. You don't have to hustle for worth. You don't have to fix everything to deserve peace. You start writing new rules like, I don't need to explain my boundaries. My joy matters, even if no one claps for it. Slowness is not failure, it's presence. And the more you write, the more you remember. You were never broken. You were just buried under expectations. This is not rebellion. It's remembrance. It's coming home to yourself, one truth at a time. And this time, you are the author. You decide what stays. You decide what heals. You decide what's true. You don't notice it at first. The shift is subtle. There's no applause, no fireworks, just space. You wake up and your chest doesn't feel as tight. You walk slower, but not because you're behind, because you're finally present. You say no without shaking. You rest without the itch to explain. You laugh, not for anyone's comfort, but because something inside you feels safe again. This is what living light feels like. It's not the absence of responsibility, but the absence of pretending. You still have things to carry, but now they're yours. Chosen, not assigned. Rooted in truth, not in fear. You stop rushing to fix what isn't yours to heal. You stop shrinking so others can feel big. You stop measuring your day by how much you produced and start measuring it by how much you felt. Some people don't understand this version of you. They miss the overachiever, the people pleaser, the version of you that gave endlessly without asking. Let them miss you. You're not here to be understood by everyone. You're here to be aligned with yourself. Living light is not about doing less. It's about carrying less of what's not meant for you. It's about releasing the guilt, the fake urgency, the old roles, the silent performance. And it's about making space for joy that doesn't need permission, for rest that isn't earned, for peace that doesn't ask you to perform. This is not a new version of you. This is the real you, finally allowed to exist. You've been calling yourself lazy for years. Every time you couldn't get out of bed, every time you needed a break, every time your body whispered, "Please, not today," you replied with shame. But you are not lazy, you are tired. Tired. From years of carrying weight that was never yours. Tired from saying yes when everything in you screamed no. Tired from performing a life that never felt like home. Lazy is what the world calls you when you stop dancing for their approval. But rest is not weakness. Slowness is not failure. You've been productive in ways no one sees. You've been surviving emotional storms, soothing wounds no one asked about, showing up with a smile while your soul was unraveling. You've been holding yourself together with invisible thread, in silent rooms, under the pressure of should and must. That's not laziness. That's resilience in disguise. If no one has told you, it is okay to be still. It is okay to pause without explaining. It is okay to not always strive, achieve, impress. You don't have to earn your worth through exhaustion. You don't have to apologize for needing time. You don't need to prove your pain to deserve care. You are not behind. You are not broken. You are simply coming back to yourself. And healing often looks like doing nothing. Like breathing, like listening, like learning slowly that you never had to prove anything to begin with. You are not lazy. You are learning how to live without the weight. You spent so long trying to stand on what others gave you. Their rules, their dreams, their ideas of who you should be. But they were shaky foundations, too narrow for your truth, too fragile for your becoming. So you kept falling, not because you were weak, but because what you stood on was never yours. Now, things are different. You've stopped building your life on shoulds. You've stopped measuring your value by productivity, popularity, or perfection. You've found something steadier, a quiet place within you that doesn't need to perform. It says, you are enough, even when you rest, even when you're unsure, even when no one sees the effort it took just to stay. You've learned that your worth was never up for debate, that your softness is strength, that saying no can be a sacred yes to yourself. You don't have to carry the world anymore. You don't have to fix everyone to feel lovable. You don't have to wear masks to be accepted. The truth you stand on now is simple. You are allowed to take up space, to change your mind, to go slower than others, to protect your peace. You are not here to be perfect. You are here to be true. Let them misunderstand you. Let them question your softness, your choices, your silence. Because for the first time, you're not standing on their approval. You're standing on your truth. And that kind of ground will not shake beneath you. Thank you for listening to Audiobook Healing. If you found this video helpful, please hit the like button to spread positivity to others.